Good morning and welcome into SimWorld today here on July 2nd. We've got a full show ahead, plenty of SWBA off-season news, some recent news broken by our own B-Ron. We'll get to all of it, bringing in Jason. JK, what's up, man? How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, Marsh. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning to be here. We got plenty to talk about. I'm super excited. I know that you've had a lot going on with your Golden State Warriors lately. I don't want to let you get emotional before we get into everything, but I know that emotions will be running high on this Tuesday morning episode. So should
Uh,
we just get right
we
into
had
it?
our emotions out yesterday. We got those out. It was long coming, and the emotions were, what they would be for somebody who likes to control them. But anyhow, Klay Thompson is in fact departing from the Golden State Warriors, signed with the Dallas Mavericks. That ends up being a signing trade. That's going to be 2 second-round picks going from Dallas to Golden State, which presumably opens up a trade exception for the Golden State Warriors. Use that as you see fit. But it is the end of a 13-year run, 4 championships, multiple-time All-NBA, multiple-time All-Star, multiple-time memories as Klay Thompson heads to Dallas. Let's talk about the future, though. JK, your thoughts on his fit with the Dallas Mavericks?
I actually don't think this fit could be any better. When you have two stars next to you, like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, he just needs to hit threes and play defense. That is where Klay Thompson thrives. He's not this super multi-dimensional offensive player in my eyes. He's a guy that can just hit those open looks, keep defensive defensive opposition struggling with him because he's such a too big of a name where you can't really lax on him. He'll play defense on the team on another team's best player. He'll play on Jason Tatum. He'll play on players of that caliber who we will be talking about later. But Klay Thompson is a great fit in Dallas. It says a lot that he turned down more money from the Lakers to go to Dallas. Clearly, he loves what they're building there. Clearly, he knows that that team is capable of winning a championship. And I think with Klay Thompson now, they definitely, undoubtedly are able to.
I don't think he can defend a team's best player. I'll tell you that because he has not been able to do that. He has not been getting that responsibility for the last 2 years in Golden State because he's not physically who he was, which one would expect. I do not like talking about players not being who they physically are, one, after injuries, two, when they get to be 34, because that's going to be a truth of all outside of, unless your name's LeBron James. But I don't love the fit in Dallas because this is a 34-year-old with two big injuries who's been a good shooter but can't play defense, and now he's playing next to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who, as I check, can't play defense, or at least choose not to in Luka Doncic's case. I think from a shooting perspective, this is great. Yeah, sure. They did not have a lot of shooting against the Boston Celtics, and that's why Tim Hardaway Jr. was called upon after pretty much being iced out of their rotation. I don't know that this really moves the needle for a team, though, that now used up all their cap space to get a 34-year-old that is still going to be a good three-point shooter, but shot 38% last season. He started off extremely slow, which he's done many times. The year before, he shot 41%, hit 301. If he can be a 38% three-point shooter, great. That's an improvement over Tim Hardaway. But I don't know that this is actually a great schematic fit for a team. I know that well, I don't know anything probably, but from the reporting, which I think I love, that this is finally coming. I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but Klay Thompson, as was reported by Woj, chose Dallas partially because of state income tax, and he's going to make more money after taxes as a guy who's lived in California, one of the highest state income taxes in the entire country. I think that played a big role in this, the ability to get some more money at the end of the day. But schematically, you're right from a three-point shooting perspective, but defensively, if I have to put him on Jason Tatum, the guys who he's defended well are the Kawhi Leonards, the bigger, slower, less explosives. Jason Tatum is going to be a tough guard if he's going to be tasked with guarding him, JK.
Klay Thompson, I think the change of scenery will benefit him. It's about time that kind of Golden State reign has come to an end. So I'm ready to see what he does in Dallas with these stars around him. I think it could work. I think it could work out. I think it could blow up in flames. He's starting to show his age, but could really reap benefits if they can find their way back to the finals.
I do agree. The change of scenery will be helpful. No change of scenery, though, for Jason Tatum, as he signs a 5-year, $314 million deal. From now on, from this day forward, we are always going to be talking about record-setting deals. It's very disingenuous in the SWBA, but it is nonetheless a record-setting deal. $314 million for Jason Tatum. No surprise he was going to get that coming off an SWBA championship. They now have signed in 2 of the last 3 summers the largest deals in SWBA history, with Jaylen Brown getting the previous high water mark. JK, your takeaways on Jason Tatum is this was a formality, right? This wasn't anything that we were questioning. This is a formality. It was always going to happen, and it was always going to be this dollar amount.
Absolutely. Jason Tatum, you won an NBA championship. He's one of the brightest. He's still on the younger side. He's still only in his early to mid-20s. I don't even think we've seen the best basketball from Jason Tatum to date in his career. And I can say that with complete certainty. Just wait till he reaches those 27, 28, 29-year-old seasons where he's really in his basketball prime. I would be surprised if he doesn't end up winning an MVP, if I say so myself. But I think that this move is interesting because look at the way the new salary cap market has really affected the contracts we're shelling out. Isaiah Hartenstein's making $29 million a season. Tobias Harris just got $26 million a season from the Detroit Pistons. We're seeing role players or decent starters get $28, $29, $30 million a season from these teams. So a legitimate superstar like Jason Tatum deserves $50, $55, $60 million a season even. He made even more than that, Jason Tatum. Imagine what Victor Wembanyama is going to get when he's eligible for a Supermax contract. That is a legitimate unicorn. This is really just the tip of the iceberg, and this is going to be a quick, big, rolling snowball, I think, here.
Well, let's be careful on talking dollar amounts, because the reason that guys like Isaiah Hartenstein and others are getting big dollars is because of the changing of the SWBA salary cap. It's always going up. So what was a $15 million man is now a $20 million man. What was a 10 is now a 15. And I mean, look, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope got 22 on average from the Orlando Magic. That's on par with what, superstars were getting a decade ago. But I think just overall, this was what we were going to get out of the out of the Boston Celtics. It was going to be a chance for them to pay their superstar yet again for a second straight summer. They did that. Do I think he's going to be an MVP? Well, he's got to beat Shea, he's got to beat Luka, he's got to beat Wemby, he's got to beat Jokic, and he's got to beat Ant. He's not better than any of those 5 guys. There's going to be other dudes that arrive. Well, he's better than Wemby right now, so before anyone gets bent out of shape. But he's not going to be better than Wemby in 2 seasons. So an MVP is a bold proclamation for a guy that couldn't even be the MVP of his own team come the stretch run of a postseason. But that's fine. He can get his 314. It doesn't change anything. It's like I said, it was procedural in nature that this was going to come the moment he became extension eligible. There was no hardball being played. Particularly, there wasn't going to be any hardball being played from an ownership group that's, hey, trying to sell the team. So great, let's sign 4 guys to massive deals and then let's dip. It might be the greatest ownership move in the history of ownership. Get your championship, pay the dudes, and not be around for the bill to come due. Genius maneuvering by the Boston Celtics ownership group. All right, let's move on to SimWorld Prep, where our head coaches, the first round, B-Ron, breaking news on quick hits. I loved it. Reporting on the recruit rankings, as was lined out, I believe, by players, if my understanding is correct. He announced the best recruits best recruiting head coaches according to players in the South, the Midwest, and the international regions. Top guys: Brian Loveless in the Midwest. You got Nick Heach in the South. You had Coach Tomas Kusa getting 57% in the international. Your takeaways, JK, anything that stood out to you, any surprises?
A couple things stood out to me. On the negative side, head coach Elisa Dodge for the Originators just won the Run to One championship, only got 10% of the vote, managed to land Cooper Flagg, Victorious Ilgauskas, the list goes on. But what really stood out to me, it was going back down to the South. Duncan Woods got a really good portion of the vote for a first-year man for the H-Town Hoopers. Almighty Soul has had problems with his last head coach. I really think that this H-Town team with Duncan Woods and Almighty Soul could really do some damage in the Southern region. Feels like the perfect guy that they need, is looking to bring in talent, is looking to take a bit of the load off of Almighty Soul, and that's what needed to happen in H-Town.
I've gone on record multiple times, JK, not really trusting player polls. It happened last season when we had the players not picking Japhett Towns as any type of postseason award. I can't remember what his breakdown was of award percentage, but it was like 80-90% of media league officials, and then like players was like 20%. Tells you everything about the players having a bit of a blind spot for stuff. That blind spot is wide open in the international region, where the second highest vote getter was Coach KT Murphy, getting 22% of the votes. KT Murphy hasn't been in the league for a week, and he's getting the second most votes in the international region. Look, I understand there's not a ton of international coaches out there, but golly, folks, there's been no recruiting opportunities. And I keep saying she, it's the KT throwing me out. He is getting the second most votes. I respect that. That's probably coming from your own team. Hey, we got to support our coach. Let's get some votes out to him. But the second most, let's have some type of perspective. Coach Koos is the obvious answer. I get if you want to throw a bone to your guy, but he hasn't been around for a week, JK. A week. I might be getting my days off, but we've got freaking plants that have been around longer, sprouting up leaves quicker than KT Murphy has been the head coach. And they're the second best recruiter in the international region. I have to call foul here, JK. This is a bit egregious.
I'm glad to see KT Murphy. He bit newer to SimWorld Prep, but making his presence felt clearly. I think David Goggins really would have been up there had he not just left for the Indy Stripes. We haven't seen his Midwest recruiting prowess yet.
I don't know that. I don't think where he was, because this is an open poll. It's not like guys couldn't vote for him that played for him last season. I mean, just because he made the move to Indy Stripes just puts him, statistically in a different region. I think Coach Brian Lovelace, along with Coach Brad Lead, are two of the most under-respected head coaches in SimWorld Prep. I thought Coach Lovelace did a fantastic job with the multitude of teams that he's had. I mean, look, the best turnaround for Coach Lovelace was dipping on Coach Vance, or owner Vance, whichever, whatever acronym or name you want to put it. It's not an acronym, but title you want to put in front of Rosante Vance. Coach Lovelace, I think, is incredibly unrespected. I'm going to call this one from the media perspective, clearly not from a player perspective, as he's gotten a ton of respect from the players there. But I just cannot accept, and it's why I take every player poll with the tiniest grain of salt possible, that KT Murphy, less than 2 weeks, let's go with that, into his coaching tenure, is somehow the second best international recruiting head coach behind the GOAT, Tomas Kusa. And I'm GOAT statusing him. I don't care that they lost in the first round. Coach Kusa is my GOAT internationally. He's going to stay that way until anyone can unseat him. That's our show. We're coming back tomorrow, July 3rd, with who knows what. This is we're getting into a precarious time into the sports cycle. We've been blessed. We haven't talked about it, but we've been blessed with some Copa America and Euro action. Reminder, July 13th, we've got the McDonald's All-American game exclusively on SimWorld TV. That's at 1 p.m. That's coming up in 11 days, so we still have some time to go before that one. But the summer is a tough one, and what has not been a super deep SWBA free agency class lends itself to some slowing down of content. So we'll keep the train rolling, though. Copa America might be just where we head next, with USA bounced by Uruguay. My God, might not be an informed soccer man, but not the way to go, folks. We're coming back tomorrow morning, though. JK, appreciate you coming in, folks. Thanks for tuning in to SimWorld today on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.